Good morning, folks. It's Sunday morning. The sun was shining on. Damn it. It's been raining for like days, and it was so sunny. And I said, okay, well, I'll throw together a Vim video, and then I'll go and I'll hike the dog. It'll be great. Well, Vimeo has screwed me over. I finished the video the same way I always do, and now it's saying there's some problem with it. Everything else seems to be okay with it. I'm starting to get tired of these guys, but we will see. Today we are going to cover one of the sexier aspects of Vim. Not that it's not completely sexy on its own. Vim, oh my, so sexy. Alright. We've been working with multiple files. We're going to now go with actually using different windows. Huge concept. We have not been doing this as of yet. We've been with one window, and that's always been good. But we want to see more than one thing at a time. So let's take a look at how we're going to do that. First, let's take a quick look at the Windows help file. We're going to show you your first command here, because when you do a help, it always does a split. I want to not split right now. I want to see all of this. So I'm going to do a Control-W-O. That makes this the only window. Now I can see the whole thing. Now we've taken our split window and we've gone right back to what we're used to. Yeah, pretty pathetic. I mean, I said we were going to do multiple windows, and now we're still on one, but trust me, we're going to get there. The first thing I want to tell you, though, is the difference between windows and buffers. We've been talking pretty exhaustively about buffers. We know that buffers are sometimes tied to files, most of the time tied to files. They don't have to be. It's essentially kind of an editing workspace for working on a particular file or project, buffer instance thing, whatever you want to call it. A window is a view onto a buffer. It's not the buffer. It's a view onto it. Meaning you can have multiple windows viewing the same buffer. As you do an edit in one buffer, it'll show you the edit in the other buffer if the window can see that section of the buffer. But when you close a window, you're not closing the buffer. A lot of times, though, when you delete a buffer, you're deleting the window that it's attached to. So there's a distinction there. Don't get confused. A lot of people get confused. They think that the window is the buffer because maybe with other editors that's the way that it's been. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I guess if you think of Notepad, the window and the buffer itself, they're the same thing. Right? So people get the idea that you close the window, you close the buffer. Vim is not that stupid. Right? That's a really dumb concept, right? To bind the window to the buffer. We don't do that in Vim because we're not dumb. Okay? So let's take a look at this difference. Let's start splitting some windows. Let's start taking a look at some files. And let's just remind ourselves that there is help here. Tons and tons of help. There are a boatload of options and features that you can put onto your windows, and how you can manipulate windows. I am not that bright of a guy, so I tend to have a certain subset of features that I use with Windows, and I don't use a ton more just because my brain gets full and eventually I forget things. If I put too much in there, I forget stuff. One day I learned a feature of Vim and I forgot what a doorbell sounded like, so I had to leave that feature, because it's a problem when people come to your door and they ring the doorbell and you just sit there like an idiot. So I decided it was important to understand what a doorbell sounded like, so I had to lose that feature. So, and before I actually get into this too much, I am trying like crazy here to keep everything down to basic Vim commands, stuff that'll work on any Vim that has these features compiled with it. But I have my own mappings for working with Windows, so there are times you might see me use my own mappings. I'll try and call them out when I do, and I apologize if I do, but it's in my muscle memory at this point. So let's go. I'm going to delete this. We know how to do that. We are now going to open up a file. Let's take the protodef file. We have it in our one window. Great. The thing with protodef is that a lot of times I use a companion file with it called fswitch, and so sometimes I'll edit the two together. So why don't we open that up? You see I'm using an SP. Let's actually do this explicitly. Split .vim plugin F switch. There you go. This is our first real purposely made split window. We have two windows. How sexy is that? Okay. There are times when two windows is really all you need, especially if you're like me, you're a C++ programmer. You use the H and the C++ file together. You'll split them. Normally I'll do a vertical split, but we'll get to that in a second. The F-switch plugin is actually what I use to switch between them, if anyone actually cares. And so what we need to do now is we need to know how to switch around. Now, the one thing that we're going to learn first, just because we have two windows up, is a command that works best with two windows. For all I know, actually, it only works if you have two windows, which is the exchange command. Control-W-X switches the two windows like this. Heavily useful, because a lot of the times when you're doing a vertical split or even a horizontal split, mentally we tend to focus on certain things. Because I speak English, I think I tend to work top to bottom, left to right. So I want to kind of work on the thing that I'm working on, the file that I'm working on, I really want on the top or on the left. And the file I'm referencing, I want in the other position. So I can, you know, go have a look at it. Okay? Now let's do some vertical splits. And in this case I'm going to use Control-W-V to split. And in this case I'm going to use VSP to split. Now you've seen me move around, and I'm going to, now that I have four windows up, I can show you exactly how I did that. Control-W is the way that we invoke the window subsystem. And then we use J, K, L, and H to move. It's just like we do, you know, J, K, L, H. Okay? Control-W-L moves to the right. Control-W-J moves down. Control-W-H moves left. And Control-W-K moves up. No big surprises there. We have now covered a ton of useful commands with Windows. These are really kind of core. We have covered Control-X, we have Control-W-X, Control-W-O, Control-W-H, J, K, and L. We have covered :SP, :VSP. We are rocking right now. You have just learned like 95% of the stuff you're going to use all the time. Isn't that cool? All right. We also, there's one very important one that we haven't covered yet, which you're going to want to use at some point, because as you start doing this, right, you're going to eventually say, wow, that's a big mess of windows. And you know, I'd really like to close some of those windows. Well, no big surprise here. That is Control-W-C. Okay? And if you really got crazy, and let's say you wanted to, you know, you had this insane little bit of window set up here, and you said, well, you know what? If I go left and I go down, and I say, okay, this is the window I want to work on, Control-W-O, like we saw earlier, cleans everything up, and we can see exactly what we want. When you do a Control-W-O, it does eliminate your previous layout. All that window splitting you did is gone. There's a plugin that can help you here, but we're not covering plugins yet. In the future, I'm going to start looking at plugins. We've learned enough, after this video, we have learned enough about standard Vim, many file manipulation, that we can start looking at how we can do better with some plugins. Okay, but the foundation is important to have first, so we're going to continue building out that foundation today. So, let's say we split this. So let's do a horizontal split and a vertical split. Okay, and then we want to bring in the, well, we can see here that this listing, we have buffers 1 and 4. We have an active one, which is the proto-def. We have the hidden one, which is the F switch, which shows you one of the things that I was telling you, is that I can have one buffer viewed from multiple windows, just like that. Okay? And you saw there that I fell down into my mappings. I apologize, but I have mappings that I should probably show you now. I have, and they're for movement, because I need that movement. I don't like hitting Control W. I can't stand it, to be perfectly honest. So I have comma L, comma K, comma H, and comma J help me move around. That's just the way it is. You have to be very special or very careful about your mappings. If you want responsiveness, you have to make sure that comma J, comma K, comma L, and comma H aren't mapped to anything else. You can't have comma HI or comma KU or anything like that, because there will be a delay. There's a configurable time delay where Vim says, oh, okay, you didn't hit a U after K, therefore you meant comma K. And I want responsiveness. I want it to do this immediately. So this means I can't reuse the comma K, L, J, or H on anything else. Now that's just a price you have to pay. And I'm happy to pay that price. So that's my mappings for that stuff. So I apologize for having to show you that, but we're going to now go and we're going to show you how to do some movement of windows. It is once again H, J, K, and L, but it's in the capital form. If I want to now say move this window to the top, this one right here in the lower left, I want to move it to the top, I would do Control W, Shift K, and that moves it to the top. Now let's switch to the F-switch plugin so that it actually makes more sense to do that. I want to now move this to the far right. See how the rest of these here, these are proto-def windows, okay? I want to move this one to the right. Shift L. Control W, Shift L moves it to the right. I can move it to the left with Control W, Shift H. I can move it to the bottom with Control W, Shift J. Okay? That's how we can move these things around. Now let's make things a little messier. Let's come up to the top here and move this one to the bottom as well. Now we have 4 windows horizontally split, tacked on one another, and you can see that if I continue to do this, that going like this, that's a real pain to get to the bottom window, isn't it? So there's a couple of tricks you can do here. You can do a count. Generally, there's other ways to do it. You can use a B to go to the bottom, but I don't like that because when you have something like this, right, and you've got some vertical splits in here, Vim has a listing, sort of in memory listing of its ordering of these windows, and the bottom window, well, there's, visually speaking, there are 2 of them here, right? But to Vim, there's really only one. When you want to move to the bottom, let's say we move up here, and I do Control W B, it's chosen the bottom right one. And I believe it's done that because that was the last one that was created in the bottom here. The one to the left of this was created first. And to me, that's totally non-deterministic. I can't tell which one this is. It's just, I don't know which one the bottom is, so I don't like that. I prefer instead to give counts to my motions, to say I want to move 8 windows up. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, there actually are 8 here. If you go above that count, then, like, let's say I did 9 down, 9 Control W J. Well, there's only 8 windows, so it stopped at 8, didn't move down 1 more, but it did what I wanted it to do. I want to move down this column here. So if you give these a count, it just repeats the command that many times as far as it can go. Okay? The last one I want to show you is something, let's clean these up, and it's the Control W P. That just is the previous window. It's the same thing for buffers as doing the B sharp. So if I do a V, or let's say a split here, right, then Control W P moves me there. If I move over to this window, move over to the right window and do a Control W P, then my cursor moves back and forth between the bottom left and the right window. Okay? It only works, for the 2 windows. If you got 40 windows up here, it's only going to move between 2 windows if you do that. And once again, that's very, very handy if you're using a language or you're writing in code that happens to use two companion files, like a header file and a C++ source file. Okay? that's windowing. So let's recap. Okay, why can't I hit the right keys here? There we go. We have covered splitting horizontally with :sp, to which you can give a file name to have it load that file. We've done a vertical split with :vsp. You can also give a file name to that. You can do the same thing with Control-WS and Control-WV, like so. Sorry, I didn't mention this as well. Control-W, Control-W lets you cycle around. So if you just hold it down like a crazy person, it'll just cycle like a madman for you. Okay. So we've done the Control-WV, Control-WS, we've done the :sp, the :vsp, we've done the Control-WC for closing, we've done the Control-WC for closing. We have done the motion command, so let's do a couple more splits here. So we've done Control-WL to move to the right, Control-WH to move to the left, Control-WJ to move down, Control-WK to move up. We can then reposition a window with the capital versions of those. If I want to take this and I want to move this lower left one to the top, Control-W-Shift-K gets me there. Control-W-Shift-L moves it to the right, Control-W-Shift-H moves it to the left, and Control-W-Shift-J moves it to the bottom. We have covered using counts to move like so. So I can say I want to move 3 windows to the left, or sorry, to the right, and I want to move 2 windows to the left. Sorry, that's my mistake. I want to move 2 windows to the left, like so. I can do that, and that actually covers most of it. All we have left is using Control-WX to swap these two. Okay, and that's it. That's your windowing commands. You have now learned 95% of what you need in basic Vim to be able to manipulate multiple files and multiple buffers and multiple windows in Vim. We are now rocking. I think we're moving well beyond the novice stage at this point. Enjoy, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good one. Try to get outside. If there's some sun, I still don't see any, but my dog won't care. So I will talk to you later.